Let's see, we're working on these small figures here. Give me a second, I got some wires I'm trying to figure out. I should have figured out before I started recording, but here we go. Alright. So the image here is a little distorted because of the table, but I'll give you a close-up view of who I'll be inking here. These are the small figures up front. I am largely going to be using... Now, hopefully you've watched the other videos before you've gotten up to here. I'm going to be using this brush pen here. Hold on, I'm still struggling with some wires. Okay, I think that's better. So typically I don't do too much warming up. Really what I want to see is what the shape of the brush is, like where the lines are going to land. So I'll find like a black spot over here just to see. Like the tip of this brush has a slight bend to it, so I want to work with that and not work against it. Like turn out a little thicker than I want it to. This particular character, I kind of think of her as like a David Bowie type. So imagine her as being thinner than kind of where I got her legs here. These are nice muscular legs, but teeny tiny figure, it won't really matter. This part's a little too thick for my taste. No big deal. Most of the stuff that I have problems with when I'm inking a piece or part of the art that I don't like, most of it is stuff that only I would notice. That said, I'm sure a much better artist is looking at my stuff and just seeing nothing but bad choices. Being a comic book artist is mostly just piles of insecurity. That said, there's a couple lines here I don't like that much. But that said, I'm fairly happy with this piece so far. Oh, I gotta fix something. There's just a little ridge over here on my desk that the paper, every time I tilted it, it was getting caught on. Yeah. So this brush is working out pretty well. I thought I was going to use more of the smaller pen, but no, this brush is working really well. Make sure it's all dry before my finger runs across it and smears everything. I mean, I would ink everything like this, really. It's just time consuming. Well, let me correct myself there. It's not time consuming. It's just when I work digitally, it's just faster. Grab my coffee. In some ways, it's not faster though, because with analog, I can't zoom into everything, so the amount of detail I can put on a page is limited. But often with digital, I have the luxury of just continuing to lay down lines and detail. Adding background elements is easier because of the digital element, and things can become not over rendered because I always take it out or whatever, but weirdly with more digital choices, like it can just make things, you keep working on a page past the point when really it's done. And sometimes you can only see that a page is really done when it's analog. Sometimes I don't know a page is done, honestly, until I put the last line down. And then I'm like, oh, it's done. It's sometimes it's a surprise to me, which is kind of nice. It's kind of neat. Kind of neat to go, oh, the page is telling me it's done. Sometimes it's important to just listen to the page. I'll be right back. I just gotta close the door over here. Oh boy, okay. I'm excited to get these little figures done down here. Then I can get to these larger figure work. So this character is one of my favorites. He's this alien character. Ogden or Ongen. And I gave him like these kind of wide goat eyes. There you go. He's kind of comical. I wouldn't call him the comic relief or anything, but he's a fun and quirky character. At one point, he wears a Hawaiian shirt. There you go. Sorry, it kind of fell outside of the camera view. Alright, so I think what I want to do here is I'm going to ruler out this platform they're running across. Drinking my coffee before it gets cold. A little close up of what's going on. Okay. Alrighty, here we go. Straight line. It's funny, I actually try not to use a ruler very much. A lot of times what I like to do is try to freehand the lines because it gives it a feeling, but it all sort of depends. So like a space opera thing, in the future, it's better to have like these straight lines or something futuristic than something a little more wobbly or free-handed. But I'm doing like a BPRD thing, and that's going to be all freehand, not very many straight lines. My book William of Newbury is all freehand. I'll do this part later, but that's not as interesting, say, as let's do a figure. Let's do one of these big ones here. I don't know. My inner radar is telling me not to do her, the main character, Vigil right now, but I'm gonna go for it. Let's just start down here around these characters. I mean, maybe this would be good for. Let's see how this brush feels. Yeah, I think I need this guy. This is just a bigger brush. The Karatuke brush pen is bigger than this this watercolor brush that I'm using. It's going to give me a bolder line for her, and I think that's what this calls for here. Let's see if I'm right or if I fucked it up. And before I'm laying this line down, I'm looking at Chippy here and where his wing is, and this white line and black line, that I don't get a weird tangent or lay down this line in such a way that it takes away from his figure. Which is tricky. Yeah, this has worked out pretty well. So this line, in order to like feel a contour of her shoulder, what I'm trying to do, it goes thicker or thin to thick in the middle here to kind of indicate that the light is coming down on the sides. I don't know if that, shit, how well that worked or not. This line wasn't quite as clean as I would have liked it to have been. And usually if I don't get it right in one swoop, going back and forth over it like this doesn't help. Don't know why. So sometimes you just got to try and get in a bold, confident line the first time. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to play this because there's like black on black with the zigzag pattern that they're running across. So I don't know if I want this to go into black or... Well, let's just finish up this line work first and then we'll figure it out. She's got like these Silver Age Michelin Man tubes around parts of her arm. Almost out of camera with that. I think it worked out. Okay. All right, this is okay. It's tricky because I'm drawing these lines behind these tiny figures and stuff here. Right here, I don't know how well it picks up off camera. Like, I specifically made it slightly angular here instead of completely rounded with her shoulder, because by giving it that slight different shape, it just adds to the dimensionality of her shoulder. Whereas otherwise, it can look really flat and plain if it's just literally just this kind of rounded shape that her shoulder really is. So sometimes you kind of add a little something extra, an accent, you know. I'm not sure if that makes how much sense that makes, but I gotta really make sure this stuff is dry because this brush lays on ink a little bit thicker than a regular brush. So I'm going to try and go thin to thick here so that this outer line is almost pointing towards her face. All right, let's try it. There you go. And a lot of that movement in these longer lines comes from my arm or my shoulder more than my wrist. Let's see, is this her hair? Her hair is going to come over her shoulder slightly. Okay, now I'm going to do this. And again, it's going to be thin to thick, so it's kind of pointing towards her face. There you go. I might just fill that in with pen just so I'm careful. So I had these shadows here right at her, between her breast and her shoulder. It could get funky right here because of this black shape, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do exactly yet. Same here, I got to think about this. That doesn't interfere with all of this area too much. Because like once I fill this in, if I put any rendering around that, it might get lost and muddy. Let's get her shoulder. Ugh, I don't like that. I did like a little bit of tangent right here. Like what I should have done was I had this line, this black line go, not touch his fin. So by touching his fin there, it creates a weird connection. Not a big deal. And I could definitely fix it in Photoshop or Clip Studio. A little tricky, a little tricky. All right. Michelin Man tubes. Very futuristic. Retro-futuristic, I mean. And frankly, it's gonna get cut off at the bottom of the page here anyway. The cropping once I scan it in and stuff. I always make sure I'm drawing the page slightly larger than what I need. This is gonna be tricky. This line, her breast line coming behind his very thin lines here, I might even be better off just doing it with a pen. Alright, I'm gonna try and keep his tail on the outside of this line. It's weird, my fingernail can actually pick up the ridge of ink here, and you can't see it, but there's this microscopic little bump there. It'll print fine and stuff, but it's funny how like this glove helps my hand slide along, but I also have to watch my fingernails because they can actually like grasp part of the paper or even tiny ink lines and fuck up my very steady hand. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. I'm 50, be 51 in January. It's going to bum me out when my eyesight really isn't good enough to do this freehand anymore and get this quality of line. When I get older, it's going to happen. Or my hand won't be so steady. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll luck out. I'll be all Yoda-like all shaky and stuff, and then I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna fill in this black here. Usually I don't fill in my black as I'm working on this stuff because it's time consuming, and I want to be able to finish the piece. But I'm gonna do that along here just so you can kind of see some of the choices that I have to make a little bit easier about like what I'm filling in, what I'm not gonna fill in. As it goes along. I'm not sure if any of that made sense. I'll probably finish it with a pen. I need some coffee. Yeah, I'll definitely do this in black, this zigzag. Okay, so let's fill this in. All right, That's looking fair. Pardon me. Just gonna make sure that's dry. All right, I think I'm gonna do the outline of her thing here, and I gotta watch out for some tangents like right under her chin. So this definitely has to be a little bit lower than the line that I have. Okay. Oh boy, here we go. I like that thick line under her chin, but it's gonna get lost in all this, in this symbol here. No big deal. Just happens sometimes. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. That'll be black, that'll be black. That'll be black. I'll do some shading in here on her breast area so that, I mean, typically I would just do like a line going right here, but it's going to look funny because of this. I'll show you. Well, yeah, all right, I'll show you. Let's do that. So this is a zigzag pattern that's going. There's a lot of patterns in this book that I use. A lot of psychedelic patterns and wobbly shapes, and it's part of the language of the book. So I wanted to make sure something like that was represented on the cover. And then the way that I did that was I just took a zigzag pattern and then I distorted it in Clip Studio to go along this like slightly, what's the word I'm looking for? In perspective platform thingy that they're running across. Man, I really like doing straight lines much better in Clip Studio than on paper. It takes so long. Doing this just takes so long. I could get this done super quick digitally, and I don't have to worry about it smearing. So I don't even need to have the whole thing done, but you can see here what I mean by the black zigzag here and how it could interfere with the contour of the rendering I'm going to do on her breast to show the line. Because it would look weird if there's just this black here, this cuts it off going across. going to be tricky, but we can figure it out. So this is one of my other favorite tools. It's just a, it's also a Pig Micron. Shit. I think either of these will work. Pig Micron #1. It's a big thick thing here. And I like to do some of my rendering like this. Just using the edge of it. Just a little teeny tiny bit here. It's so-so. But this way it's not going to feel cut off down at the bottom. Yeah, just need the one line there. Another good thing about this is it can help with like coloring in some of this stuff. One of the other reasons I wanted to fill this area in black is I didn't like the squared off foot here. There we go. I was able to make her foot a little pointy again. See why I hate filling in black? It just takes so long. So I usually don't end up doing this until I'm selling a page. All right. So I think this is gonna work well, and hopefully I filled in enough black here that you can kind of see what I was talking about not cutting off her shapes totally. Oh, it's killing me how long this takes. It's not that I'm impatient, it's just there's only so much time in the day, so I need to get things done. And filling in black like this doesn't feel productive. But I really want to be able, I want you to be able to see some of the smaller problems you have to deal with when it comes to things like tangents and little tiny challenges of putting a page together, or cover in this case. Like this area in front gets complicated with the little characters running across. Shit. I got slightly outside of the line there. That's why I'm cursing. Here it's fine because it's black there. And this little lightning that comes down under here is going to be more obvious with the coloring because it'll be yellow, so it'll be clear what it is and why is there this little shape here. think that's all I want to do for now. But kind of give you an idea of the shapes that'll be down here. I mean, this will also be in black, and then there'll be some shading in the coloring. Okay. Ta-da. One thing that we do often when we're working is these little X's mean this area is going to be in black. And it kind of helps you see it in your mind's eye. And I'm just blocking down some shapes here. I used the wrong brush here. That's a little thinned out ink. This is just giving it some shape, some depth. All right, let's get to the fun stuff. Enough of this. Enough. Let's get to the face. Not perfect, but okay. 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 So I'm going to go back to using that watercolor brush for the details on her face. But this bigger brush is good for the thicker outlines, say for her, the outline of her face. Yeah, I'll get rid of that wobbly line. Make sure that ink is dry. Okay. I'm sort of holding my breath and breathing out slowly on some of these larger longer, rounder, more controlled lines. All right. Let's see. I want to add like a little tiny bit of split in our hair here. Trying to keep in mind like a nice swooping motion to this, so like even with the split, it's all sort of expressing that line or that form and that shape. It's wet right there, I gotta be careful. And I might do like digitally, I might add some white lines coming into there, kind of the equivalent of that coming into the edge of her hair. We'll see. I also really just like a solid shape. Okay. All right. Excuse me. Sometimes I'll tilt this into the edge of the light, and I can see where things are still wet, so I have to be careful there. All right. I don't like switching tools too much. Again, it sort of slows me down, so I try and do my best to like, well, what lines do I need with this thing? Especially when I'm using an analog brush, because every time you clean it out, it dilutes the ink, or it can get like more gray, or the ink starts to dry a little bit and it gets too thick. And I'll use a pen to like get some of these details here on the where the loop of her collar meets her hair there. I don't want to accidentally make it like a blob or anything. All right, I think I'll do these larger lines back here before I bust the brush out. All right, so back to Odysseus. I also got his other antenna, so I'm going to draw that in there. Okay. Got the Creos. Sorry about that. All right. I had this like line in between her breasts, but really I'm looking at the profile, so like that wrinkle doesn't totally make sense. It's not really describing a shape that's actually there. Like you try and make sure that all of these lines are describing a shape of some kind, like this collar thing that she has around her. Wait. So I've got this antenna sticking up here. Okay. This is one of my other favorite pens to use. Is a Uniball Micro. And I like how technical it can feel, and it can also feel very rough and naturalistic. So I'm going to use that for this antenna, which I'm going to freehand, and I might regret. No, I don't regret it. Okay. Okay, now I have to be really careful though, because it does take longer for this to dry than I would like it to. Especially when I double up a line like that, it becomes a pain in the ass. All right. And I'm still going to go ahead and ink this. I just got to make sure I don't touch this part at all. All right. Okay, let me do some of those metal bits here. Okay, I think that's fine. I don't do too much rendering, meaning like these little kind of feathery lines on certain projects anymore. I try and do it pretty sparingly. It's just the way my style sort of developed now of keeping things more simple. All right. Just hoping that stays dry. I'm going to go into face now. This is the big one, Mitchell's face. I notice there's a little line here from his metal. Oops. Just, this is how I warm up with a brush. I don't go ahead and ink something new. I'll either just sort of run the brush along the page like that, or, you know, just like a little really easy spot like this, like these sort of squiggly lines, and just feel it out. Watch out because it's still wet. Still kind of wet around there. All right, so here we go. Holy, eyes and the face are scary because, you know, this is the whole center of the page. And if I fuck this up on the original, it's really going to devalue it, or people won't be as... Alright, whatever. Let me just shut up and ink. Alright, so far so good. Just trying not to give myself a heart attack. There we go. Ugh. Yeah. This nostril I'm not super happy with. Okay, that's alright. E is okay. It's okay. And then I try to do like a combination of smooth lines and then purposely straight and flat, like kind of the bottom of her lip, you know. I try and do a lot of this thin, thick kind of thing here. For brush shapes. This line come up here from the corner of her eye to her eyebrow is really just shading. It's not a lash or anything like that. It's just... here's the other part that gives me a heart attack, is the pupils in the eyes, because if I make her cross-eyed or cockeyed on accident, which is so easy to do. Oh, sorry. Oh boy, okay. Yeah, I drew this eye a little bit too much to the left and up. So I gotta go. All right. Just letting the ink run through my brush here so that it doesn't get too dry in one spot. Okay. All right, I am fucking happy with that. Happy enough. Okay. So then it's going to be Krios next. Just fill in some black here just to get the ink, keep the brush fresh, you know, fresh with wet ink going through so it's not getting dried and cloggy. I gotta be honest. This is for me turning out very, very well. Like I'm very happy with the overall line quality. It's tricky, man. I was gonna have her neck here, but I think I'm gonna leave it. Krios is sort of the action character. Like she's the real kick-ass one. Everybody can kind of fend for themselves, but well, not everybody. Not all these characters, but Vigil can fight, Odysseus can fight, but it's really Krios here who's the warrior of the group. She's also slightly larger, which I really enjoy drawing as well. Just different shapes, different body sizes. They're all interesting. I don't like having the lip edge not. I don't know how I feel about that. Nah, just do that. I don't know if any of that even translated into the camera because it's such small details, but sometimes it's the tiniest thing that changes the shape of a face or the form. Okay. And again, this is going to be black behind here, so like some of these lines I'm really happy with. Like I love this look here, like how thick it gets here and then thin, but in the end I think it's just going to get covered with the black black background. That's okay. That's just the way it goes. I'm not going to change something because I want to save a line or showcase a line. Excuse me. Krios actually has completely black eyes with like a little white. A white pupil? Is it the pupil? Fuck me, I don't remember. The iris, the pupil? I don't know. And I gave her these round eyebrows with thin eyebrow. Words. Fuck! Okay, thank God. I felt wet ink right here. I was smearing it, but luckily I smeared black into black. Whew. All right. Heart attack. Give her just a little sense of her hair being pulled back here on the sides. Make sure it's wet dry, okay. I'm not going to be filling in all black here. I will scan this in and you'll see it at the end. Just because I got a schedule to keep. So today was allotted to do. Actually, yesterday I was supposed to finish this cover, but things happen. And I'm just going to do the black and white for now. I'll probably record the color process later. But I probably also won't color this until the weekend or something. I have to look at my schedule. I have a very strict schedule of what days I work on which projects, and that helps keep me sane. So that way it doesn't feel like everything is at a full sprint. Like the last thing you want to do when you're working on a lot of projects, like I do, is to feel like the only way out is to work as fast and as hard as you can. Because if you're just sprinting the whole time, it's a sprint that will never end. So you do is you give yourself mini goals. Today, I'm working on Galaxy of Madness. Tomorrow, it's William of Newberry. Weekend, Blue Book. Nighttime, working on the After Realm Kickstarter page. Working on BPRD sketches. And then all that will change when like the next script comes in or I finish something. So it's important to have a schedule, especially when you're working on multiple projects. Also keep in mind, even though I work basically 7 days a week, that's a choice. And I don't work like 9 to 5 exactly, you know. Some days are like half days. I'm going to keep her tips white because it'll help define the shapes. As some of her hair is going to go into black behind her from the spiral shape. In a weird way, I'm kind of done. Like, this is all the hard stuff. Like, what I really have left is just filling in a lot of black. Black here, black here, black here. His chest and his arm. The ship. These stars and everything in the background. The spiral. So maybe as long as we're here, what I'll do is I'm going to finish off her face with filling in some black, just so we can see, you get to see this, since you sat with me through all this stuff. Because the next step will be the coloring. Like, I don't think I want to record all this little teeny tiny stuff. It'll be boring, and also it'll give me a chance to focus on other stuff. Plus, Taki's going to be into the studio soon, and she's going to need to do her work. And I think I'll be coloring this. I mean, Taki's interior colors are everything that I'll take my cues from. And Taki's got a lot on her plate. Health and work makes it difficult for her to be able to do everything. In case you don't know, Taki has multiple sclerosis. And she's dealing with that every day. She's doing okay. But it's a thing. Also, she's been really concentrating on her writing. And if you get a chance, check out her book, Sleeping While Standing. It's her biography. It is amazing. I learned a lot from her on the writing end. Especially for things like clarity. Clarity is the key to everything. And it's funny, I know that Vigil here looks like Taki, and I'm sure a lot of people think I modeled her on Taki. And, yeah, fair enough. She does end up looking like her, but really I was thinking of this actress, Maya Erskine. We saw her in this television show that she did called Pen 15, which was hysterical. Yeah, I was kind of thinking of her in this role. I often do sort of casting, like I'll think about a certain kind of actor for certain characters I'm drawing, and just go, oh, okay, he's kind of a Christopher Walken type, or this one is like a David Bowie, a female David Bowie, coffee cup. I don't know, I'm babbling. Blah, 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 blah. Well, here we go. Look at this. This is coming together. You can kind of see character's face. I want to thank you for hanging out with me through this process. There'll be links in here for my newsletter, my website. You can sign on to those to keep up with my projects, updates on Galaxy of Madness, and my other projects, Project Blue Book, Van Gogh, William of Newbury. I think by the time this is out, I'll be well into working on the next BPRD thing that I'm doing. What else is there? I don't know. I can't keep up. Can't keep up with myself. But that's how I like it. And I got a whole bunch of other videos as well. Brian Bendis and Taki and I, we did this book called Murder Inc., or United States of Murder versus Inc. We just call it Murder Inc. now because it's a mouthful. And I did a 6-issue connecting cover for our last series. And that is on one of my playlists for my YouTube channel. And you can see me I recorded the entire process. It was all digital. 6 issues. 6 issues that connected. So check that out if you can, if you're interested in this stuff. And I really take you behind the process of everything and explain all my choices and what worked and what didn't, etc., etc. So yeah, click on the links below. Thanks so much for hanging out and watching us through this. And check out Galaxy Madness by Mags, talking to myself from Mad Cave. Take care, gang.